Good morning, Rancho. Shawn Gordon here. It's January 12th, 2017. It's raining. Got a habanero turkey on the barbecue. Don't ask why. Last night's city council meeting, one of the topics, well, there's two interesting topics. One was on economic development in the city. The other was on Chiquita Ridge. Now, when I was running for city council, I had a position on Chiquita Ridge, and it was based on an incorrect assumption that I had, which was that the sports park had to be built. Part of the agreement for that land is that if we build anything there, then a minimum, I think it was 27 acres of sports park has to exist. If we don't build anything, then we don't have to build the sports park. Since I always thought we had to build the sports park, that meant you needed to have infrastructure to help cover the cost. So, for example, the sports park over there in Lake Forest, the price tag was in the $40–50 million range, and we have a lot more hills to cut down and valleys to fill up. So I imagine the civil engineering costs, it'll probably be more expensive, but you can look at $50 million. So you would need to have retail space in there to support the cost and maintenance of those fields. Since I found out that you don't have to build anything, I'm now pretty much staunchly against doing anything. Chiquita Ridge is over there, over by the skate park, which is, Cañada Vista off Antonio Parkway, so kind of between Meandering Trail and the park there, so it's set back into the hills a little bit. So just off the surface, if you were to think about a Sam's Club being in there and other retail destinations, the amount of traffic and the signals that would need to be put in off of Antonio, the disruption to Las Flores and the people in off Meandering Trail there is probably fairly significant. In listening to the city council meeting last night, there were some interesting things that came up with regard to economic development in Chiquita Ridge. So, with regard to economic development, the car dealerships bring in the most money. The city would love to have 1 to 3 more. I don't know where you'd put them. There's the old Nissan lot that would require kicking out the 3 or 4 vendors that are there. Buying it out from Theory R, not necessarily a bad thing, except for the people who work there. So not super for that. There's really no other place you could put them. You could have put them in the Cox building, I suppose. You also could have put a Sam's Club in that space. You need about 130,000 square feet, so I'm not positive of the size, but that's a pretty big lot. However, for some reason, and this was part of my campaign, was to foster more of a relationship between the landlords and the property managers here in town and the city, because the city has virtually no idea what's going on. I was speaking to economic development there the other day, and nice young lady. Well, I don't know if she's young, but I'm going to assume so. Younger than me. Been there for a couple of years, and I brought up the problem of the owners raising rents dramatically on a tenant, and completely non-negotiable. The tenant leaves, and then the place sits empty 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Why? And she's like, oh, that's a good question. Yeah, maybe we should be talking to these people more. She thought also that the Sam's Club would have been great at the Cox building, but Applied Medical bought it before anybody heard about it. However, if you have a little creativity and you're thinking outside the box a little bit, you go, oh, okay, Cox has completely moved out of there. Let's get a hold of whoever owns that, and let's try to get some sort of private-public partnership going to work with these landowners. Now, these are all things that I've been saying for a while, a long time, way before I ran for city council, and these were recommendations last night to the council by one of the 2 presenters. Now, keep in mind, we have $20 million in the bank. We are in great shape. We do not necessarily need any more of anything. Our current council members like to rightly tout how fiscally sound we are. So there isn't really a reason to look for additional places to tear down or cut up and and such to put other things here. Now, at least one additional car dealership would be great in terms of the tax revenue for the city. It'd be super. Again, I don't know where you'd put it, but if there is an opportunity if there's any space left in town, Applied Medical has bought pretty much all the larger office space, so it reduces the potential. So the only place you can build is over there in Chiquita Ridge, and that's part of the incentive of why the city wants to do something there. They're talking about doing another feasibility study to cover the last feasibility study, So they want to go out and talk to sports leagues, AYSO, adult and youth leagues, to gauge their needs and interests for the park. I was just sort of stunned that it seemed like that hasn't been done, and we've had that property for 9 years, thereabouts. We just had a bunch of vendors present last July. We just had another feasibility study done, and I thought that was a great one. I forget, Hunan, I think it was. Anyway, I have a copy of it here. But that was the best one that I've seen so far. Now they want to extend their contract to do feasibility on the sports park. So this is where you come in. I hope you stuck with me this far. They say it'll take them 12 to 14 weeks to go through and assess the citizens' interest, to talk to the sports leagues, and to get an idea of what would work there. So if you are against development of Chiquita Ridge, that is your opportunity, and this is part of our democratic process. We live here. City council is our servants. I would have been your servant had I been on city council. One person doesn't get a say, so just because I'm saying I don't think it's a good idea, that doesn't mean that I get to overrule anything. But if it turns out 10,000 people come out and go, you know what, we want to keep it the way it is. Let's just put in some hiking trails and, kind of open up the nature there. Then maybe that'll have an impact. Well, it will have an impact because the city does want to do what we want. We might disagree with their objective, but it doesn't mean that they want something bad for us. It's what they think is right. I happen to think that something else is right. And you might think that something else is right. I don't think we have a sports park deficit or, crisis in town. But granted, my kids don't do that anymore. We never had a problem when I was in the leagues, back when it seemed like there was more kids in town based on the declining populations in the schools. I would hazard that there was more there at the time than there is now. So be aware, Chiquita Ridge, it's coming up. I know the city's anxious to do something with it, at least answer the question. My answer to the question is to not do anything. Take some time to study the issue. But more importantly, I'll do my best to help get the word out when the feasibility interviews or polls or however they're going to structure it go around. I'm sure the city will do the same. And make your voice heard on this important topic. And hopefully we can get this economic development situation under control. It's been a little lackluster for the last few years. We want to keep the jobs in town. We don't need more houses. We don't have a whole lot of open space here, but I think we should be doing a lot more recruiting in town here because that was what the master plan was. Live here, work here, play here. So there we go. We could go off on a lot of other tangents. I'm at 9 minutes. I meandered a little bit, but this is an important topic. I hope you take the time to listen to the City Council meeting from last night, review the presentations on the City Council website that was delivered, I think it was November, and also you can go back to July when the various vendors were presenting, because there's a lot of options. We can just sell the whole thing to developer and let them take care of the whole thing. We can sell parts of it. We can develop it all ourselves. Primarily what we're looking at is trying to generate more tax revenue for the town by keeping people in the town shopping. Right now, because people have to leave the town to work, they're shopping outside the town. There's a lot of retail you could capture in the town, but we have no control over who's here. So we need more shops, perhaps, as opposed to office buildings. Anyway, topic for discussion. Oh, I'm running for sale, Mark. That's not what this is about, but the ballot will be showing up soon, And I've got my statement on samlock.org as well as the other candidates. Okay, I pushed it out to 10 minutes. Wish me luck on my habanero turkey that's barbecuing out in the rain right now. It has about 3 more hours. All right, have a good day.